And we're live. Hey everybody, my name is Lisa Adametz, in case you didn't know what my last name was, since I always go by Paper Grace, and I am a design team member for Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft, and we're going to be making a really great project today. It is a two-sided project, so we're going to be using one of these really awesome, really inexpensive, these are just art canvas panels. They're just really super inexpensive. This is 9 by 12, and they're very inexpensive. You can get them at any of the big box art supply stores. I buy them in bulk because I'm always using them, but they're 9" by 12", and they're just canvas on one side and just they're coated on paper on the back side. You guys can see that. And we're going to be using one panel and using both sides. So that's what we're going to be using today, okay? So I'm not going to show you some of the steps. I'm just going to kind of talk through because I think that's the easiest thing to do rather than actually show you some of the steps, because I just think it's kind of, I don't want to say unnecessary, but kind of unnecessary. So on the basic of the panel is one side. We're actually on both sides. Once you unwrap the panel, we're going to prime the panel completely. And what I mean by priming it is we're going to use the gesso, and the gesso is this product right here. You guys can see that, right? So once you open up the panel, you're going to gesso it completely, both sides. The panel does have a little sticker on it, like that. The easiest way to get that off is to just spray it with a little bit of water and then just scrape it off. So those come off real easy if you just spritz it with a little bit of water, let it sit for a few minutes, and then just scrape it off. You can use whatever you've got on hand to do that. It could even be just something as simple as a popsicle stick or something like that, and just scrape it off because you want to have the surface as smooth as possible. So once you've got it all smoothed out, you're going to just gesso both sides. You can let it air dry or you can use a heat tool. It doesn't really matter, but you want to make sure that it's gessoed on both sides. Once you've got both sides gessoed, on one side you're going to coat it completely with chalkboard paint and let that dry, and then of course the other side is just going to remain gessoed. So one side chalkboard paint, and you can let the kids do this. They're going to like getting messy, so let them get all covered in chalkboard paint. And then again, just leave the other side gessoed. And once you know, you'll know that the chalkboard paint is all dry because it'll stop being shiny. So when you're using that, once you see no more shine on that, you'll know that it's ready. And the gesso is just the way that it is. So I'll put that one aside. You guys don't need to see me painting chalkboard paint. So once you've got those all nice and done, on the chalkboard side, what I did on this one, just to make it easy for myself, because it doesn't need to be perfect, by all means, you don't have to make it perfect, but just to make it easy for myself, because I wanted to make sure that I knew that I had a nice center area, I just used, what's this stuff? I used a little bit of, I think this is just Post-it tape. Comes in these little rolls like this. But you can use anything that doesn't take a lot of texture off. You could use washi tape or something like that. There's a really nice, I think it's frog tape out, something like that, that doesn't take a lot of your paper off. So something that's real gentle for surfaces. And I just used that because I wanted to make sure that I had a nice center area. So I used that to just make sure that I had a nice center area on my chalkboard side. So that's the side we're going to work on right now. And I'm going to pan the camera down. So make sure that I got it panned down enough. And I'm going to turn this light back on here. Can everybody see that okay? I'll get my other stuff out of the way. Is that in focus for everybody? Hey, Margie. All right. So as long as that's in focus for everybody, I'm going to bring some gelatos in here. here. I want these to be fall colors, so a lot of the oranges and things like that. Pop a red. Let's see here. And I'm just going to go around the edges. So I'm just going to start with, we'll start with mango. And you're just, the kids will love doing this stuff. So just let them go nuts. It doesn't matter if it goes over the tape or not. Just as long as it stays off the center portion. This is blood orange. My favorite orange. This is from the 50s diner set. Let's see, I want another color in here. Let's see, I think this is, oh, that's the same color, a little different. I want a different color in here. Keep grabbing mango. I have like 3 mangoes. Let's see, tangerine, right? Hey, tangerine, all right. Let's see here. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is just rub it all into the chalkboard paint with my fingers. And then I'll add a little bit of iced chai over the top just to give it that little bit of shine. And I'm not rubbing it in completely. Just getting the color in just a little bit. And I'm not worried about the other side getting any gelato on it like there is right now because I'm going to be putting something over the top. So even though I gessoed it, I'm not worried about it. But it does help to keep your surface as clean as possible because you don't want there to be too much color transfer, if that makes sense. Of course, I've got a lot of it on my hands too, so it does help to try to keep it as clean as possible. When I created it originally, I tried to keep paper towels underneath because I didn't want it to get too messy. You don't want the whole thing being colored something different. So that's iced chai, and again I just put this one on because I wanted to have a little bit of that shine, and that's why I did it last. So hopefully you guys can see where that comes in. So there you go. So I'm going to make sure that my hands aren't completely filthy and break out my trusty, my hands are closed, break out my trusty baby wipes. Alright, and then I'm going to put some gel medium on this. And for this, you know, you might want to let your kid, I have a big old bag of these sponges. You might not want to have your kid using your really good sponges. So when I do teaching in classes and stuff, I always make sure that I have a lot of these kinds of things rather than my good brushes. So just get a nice layer, and you're going to go over what you just did. And some of the color will transfer onto the sponge. So rather, before you dip back into your gel medium, so you don't want to put a whole bunch of color onto your into your gel medium. Just wipe your sponge off on something, a towel or whatever. But you do want to make sure that you're putting a nice layer of gel medium around, and that way you're protecting your surface and also preventing that transfer. I always have tons of these rags laying around, and I will just wash them off in between uses. And this is a nice way also, because it will make the gelatos move around. This is a nice way that if you're doing it, to create some nice texture and movement on the frame. If you're doing it yourself. Now, if you're getting your kids involved, it's just going to be all kinds of messy, but that's fun. That's part of the fun of getting the kids involved, to see what they're going to create. And, you know, it's one way to teach them about art, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Oh, I got a little fingerprint here. So that's that. So I'm done with that one. So I am going to dry this edge here. Sorry. Hopefully it's not too noisy. You know, there's nothing more fun than watching paint dry, right? Well, I'm very messy. If you saw my craft room, Tiffany, I actually lost the little numbers that I put on my calendar, and I have tons of them. I have no idea where they are. I'm like, oh great. Oh, you can't hear it? Great. It's just about dry. Again, this is it's really nice because you can always tell when it's dry when it stops being shiny, which I love, because I'm one of those people, I'm always touching things. So if my hands are in it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I guess it's still wet. Touch, touch, touch. Yep, still wet. All right. Yeah, pretty dry. All right, dry enough. So then you just take see, this didn't work super well. You can still see the little edge, but that's no big deal. Not a big deal at all. So this is just that Post-it note stuff. So let me see, where's my... There we go. little part off there. Let's see, I'll just go over that. I should have added some red in there. Now that I've got gel medium on it. Oh well. Oh well. Now I'm going to try and make it perfect. Anyhow, you guys get the idea. You certainly aren't going to have your out there with your kids. Here, let's try and clean this up with this sharp blade. Not a good idea. Anyway, so that's the basic idea. Are you guys getting seasick? This needs to go back down. Sorry. I have a glue dot underneath my camera. I'm trying to. Is that better or worse? Oh, there we go. Maybe that's better. All right. Anyway, so there we go. Next thing, anyway, moving along. We've got a lovely stencil. Has anybody been winning anything yet? Anyone? Anyone? So I have a stencil here, and this one is from Paper Artsy, who I love. And so this is the stencil. Can you see? Ta-da! So what I did with this is, let's see if I can find that stuff. Oh, here we go. So what I did with this is I chopped up some gelatos, and I used, this is that frog tape stuff that I was talking about. So to get it where I wanted it, because I didn't want to use the whole stencil, so this over here. So I just put down some frog tape and, you know, moved it around a little bit, manipulated some things. Did that, moved it around here, and because I didn't want it to stick on the back side, I don't care about that, so like that. And like that. And like that. Oh, let's move that over there. So, so I want it to go, let's see. Maybe I do want, if I want to go that way. Yeah, like that. And then you can just stick it down like that. And then stick it down over here. Okay, so, and you're only going to use this part right here. And on this one, let's see here. Just chop up. You guys all see this, right? Yeah. So chop up a couple pieces of, let's see, this is the grape gelato. Fun, what we got under here? With the delicious whipped spackle. Ooh. Has everybody had a chance to play with whipped spackle yet? Actually, I'm going to do this first. If you haven't, you need to, because it is yummy. So I'm just smashing it up, and then I'm going to mix it with the whip spackle, and I'm going to push it through the stencil, and it is going to be wonderful. Trust me. So I'm going to cut this one up and do the same thing, but I want to have two separate little pools of smushiness. And yes, that is a word. So let me just grab this over here. And fortunately for me, I have another spatula. Yay, that's clean. I'll use the other side of that. Get in there. And then you just start blending it. Now, if I want this to be darker, which I probably will, I'll just grab some of that over there. Heck, I'll just blend it all together. Doesn't really matter. So you can see how easy it is to make your own custom colored whip spackle just by chopping that off and mixing it up. And this stuff is just fabulous. It it is really light, it is really fluffy, it is very dimensional, and it is beautiful. So I'm just going to push that through a couple areas of my stencil where I want that. I'm going to probably use too much whip spackle, but that's okay. This is fun watching me do this, isn't it? So anyway, that's that one. And then we'll do the same thing for the orange, and let's see. Let me get a really good one. No, I don't want to do that one. I'll do this one here. And you can air dry this, just so you know. So you're not thinking, oh my god, this is going to take forever. Or heat dry it, excuse me. Then I will do the white. I would do white for the stem, and then after it's dry, you can paint over it real lightly with your Stampers Big Brush pens. So that's really cool. It looks beautiful. So where's this at? Let's see here. Add a little bit to that. Really, really pretty. And some of the colors, because the whiteness tends to make it way more light. They don't look nearly as good. I mean, they still always look as good. That's the wrong thing to say, but they just turn out much, much, much lighter. So you just have to be careful, or just add way more. Just add a lot more gelato to it. Of course, they look as good. So let me clean this off. Of course, they put it. Okay. And let's do something different. Let's try some ice chai. Ooh. I'm going to do this one on my other one, so let's try that. Let's see how that looks. And let's see. Some of the pigments take a little bit of time to break down, so you do have to be a little bit patient. Ooh, that's pretty. Ooh, got some color transfer. All right, clean that off. All right. And then I'm not, do you guys want me to do the stem or do you care? Stem or no stem? Tell me, stem or no stem? Now, the ice chai is in the steampunk set. This is iced chai. Can you see it? No. See, my light is not that great. Sorry. Up to you. No stem. Oh, stem? I got a stem and no stem. Okay, I'll just show you real quick. So, let me keep grabbing this wrong. So the stem I would just do in white, like that. I know we have still a whole other side to do. So I'm trying to move along here. And then what we'd also do here is just go around the edges with ribbon. And the ribbon, you can just, any ribbon that you like. Seam binding works really, really well because you can dye that with your gelatos. And what I mean by dyeing it is if you grab whatever color gelatos, usually the colors that you're working with, you just put them down like in not with the whip spackle, of course, but just create little, just scribble them out, create little palettes, spritz some water onto it, and then you can dye it to match, and then you can just create a little border. And you just glue it on. Whatever way you prefer. Okay, so this looks really bad on this side. Just so you know, it doesn't look that bad when you pull it up. Okay. Ta-da! Can you all see that? I know I'm working upside down here a bit. There you go. And this little guy right here can just be wiped away, even if it's somewhat dry. There you go. And like I said, you know, you get the heat tool out and zap it a little bit. Like that. So the design work might be something that you would want to do. with the, you know, doing the stencil part. But how much fun would your kids have smashing up the gelatos with the whip spackle? Okay, so let me move this. Get that. Okay, so let me show you what I was talking about with the stem. So you can just, these are the Stampers Big Brush pens. I've got, let's see, this is May Green, and I've also got Permanent Green Olive. So you can just easily work right on top. This is still just a little bit damp, so if it's coming away, it's probably because it's not dry enough. But just starting from the top here, you can just lightly go over the stem. Oops, I broke my cap. No go! But they blend into each other. So just using your finger, you can create this beautiful stem. Like I said, it's probably just not dry enough, and that's why it's flaking off, but that's really how easy it is to create that stem. Super, 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 super easy. And you can keep going back and forth over it to create the look that you want. If you want it to be a little bit lighter or whatever, just to cover up the whiteness of the stem. Just make sure that the whip spackle is dry enough. And then the only other thing that you have left to do on that, other than of course creating that border, is just to add some glass bead glitter gel. Now the way that I do this, and it might not be for everybody because I like to get really, really messy. So for me, I always take it out of the jar just like this, and I put it on my fingertips because I think that this is the best way to do this. Is just I take it out on my fingertips and I dab it onto whatever I want to do, because I think that this way it prevents you from adding too much. So this is my favorite way of applying this, because you can really, really easily add way too much of this stuff and it'll take you forever to dry it. So that way you get a really nice look of it and you're not overusing it. You can put it back in the jar then and you get a really nice glittery finish to that. And now this does take a little bit of time to dry, but when you're done, it looks phenomenal. So then all you would have to do again is just add that little bit of ribbon, and you can use whatever ribbon you want. On my other one I had a little bit of pom-pom trim, but something like this would be really, really easy to just color. And again, all you'd have to do is create a couple little pools of gelato, just spritz it with water and you'd be done, and then you could just adhere it on however you want to, and it'd be really, really easy. Okay, so we're going to work on another side. I think I have another one floating around here, so let me see here. Let me grab another, let me clean that up. So do you guys have any questions for me? Or are the other team members helping you out? Yeah, the glass bead glitter gel is amazing, huh? If there's anything that I skipped over just for the sake of time, I'll hang out after we're done recording and you guys can ask me anything, okay? I know I'm kind of hurrying along. I want to make sure that I get as much covered as I can, but you're more than welcome to ask me anything afterwards, and I'll hang out as long as you know, I get everything, you know, the most pertinent things done. I just want to make sure that, you know, this is a really fun project for you guys all to do with your family, your kids, you know, even just, you know, maybe your friends or something like that. You've got some friends that you want to do something like this. So this is certainly a really fun thing that you all can do together. Okay, let me see here. I want to make sure my hands are as clean as possible. All right. Grab another rag. Okay. All right. So we've got the back side of this one now. Oops, that's the wrong side, isn't it? No, it's not. Or is it? Ah, well, this one's still a little wet. Let me just dry it for the heck of it. On the next side, what you're going to do, you already have that side gessoed, but you're going to need a piece of, normally you wouldn't heat set glass bead glitter gel, just so you know, because it does tend to bubble up. So let me see, do I have a paper towel? Yeah, I do. So let me grab a paper towel. You're going to want a piece of chipboard or something of that nature to create this the basis for your next part. Okay, use this piece because the main panel that sits in the middle of the advent is a little bit raised. Okay, so the chipboard piece is, where's my measurement at? It's 8 and what is it? I can't find anything. Oh, here we go. So it's gonna sit kind of like in the middle like that. Can you see this? Okay. So it doesn't sit at the, you can put it wherever you want to within the middle of the canvas, but when I was trying to figure this out, I was like, you know, this is such an odd size. I've got to figure this out so the squares would all be even. So you want to use something that's sturdy enough to sit on here, and paper just doesn't work. Now, whatever you do with the chipboard is up to you once you have it, but chipboard is easy enough to collage and do whatever you want to from that point on. But when I figured this out, I was like, oh my gosh, I am so not a math person. But in order to make the squares even, I figured out that it should be 10 inches in one direction and 8 3/4 inches in another direction. That way you could have 25 equal squares, okay? So this might be a really good thing for you guys to either write down, or we can have it added onto the blog or whatever else like that. But the dimensions of, again, of it are 10 inches. So it's going to, because the canvas is 9 by 12, you're going to have it 10 inches one way and 8 3/4 inches the other way. That way you have 25 equal squares. Are you with me? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Anyway, so you've got 25 this way and 25 that way. And that way you've got a 1 3/4 by 2 inch square. So when you have, you know, make up your little template so that way you don't screw up like I did time and time and time again doing this. But then you want to put this template on a piece of chipboard, and then with the chipboard you can then either collage it or whatever you want to do to it. I actually used tissue paper because that was something that I had a lot of. So I actually haven't found a pattern paper for Christmas that I like a whole lot yet. So I used tissue paper, and this was the tissue paper that I actually like a lot. So I just used this, and it was the one that I liked the color of it. I found that it worked really well for Christmas, and so that's what I used. Anyway, So this is what you're going to be doing, okay? So it's the same graph. Can you all see that? Everybody? Oh yeah, I hate measuring is not my thing. Yeah. So it's here you go. You've got your 10 inches this way and your 8 3/4 this way. Now what I did is, again, this is just covered in it's chipboard. You can see all my little nasty stuff here. It's just chipboard, and then I covered it with the tissue paper, and it's all gel medium. All gel medium. Gel medium on the front, gel medium on the back. And then what I used is our silver Pit Artist pen, and this is fabulous. So then when I was drawing the lines down, this is what I used. And then what you're going to do is you're going to have to poke the little holes in down the center, and this is where your little tags are going to go. Okay, so that's for this part right here. So anyway, but before we get too much further on that, we're going to have to color this thing in. So on this, let's see, where are my selectors? So on this one, really all I did, because you don't have to cover up the whole thing, really, you're just, remember this part is going, you know, kind of like that. You can really just do like the top, a little bit of the sides, and a little bit of the bottom. That way you're not wasting too much of your gelato. So it's just the mint, metallic mint of the Gelato's Double Scoop, and this is the, what does they call it? Silver Ice Gelato's Double Scoop. So those are the two that I used here. And then I think what I did, I have so many things floating around here. I think that I also added a little bit of one of the blues. It could have been Aqua Dolce or something like that, because I wanted it to lighten up just a little bit. So I just started off with one and then added a little bit of the other one. So that's what I'm going to do. Just go in here, go down the sides a little bit. And I'm not worried about that little bit of the orange. I don't really care, like especially here. It doesn't really matter. Again, because part of that reason that I don't really care is because I'm going to then add some of the glass bead glitter gel also, so I'm not really all that concerned. And then we're also going to put another stencil, so it doesn't matter. And then just go ahead and swirl some of this in there. And usually when I'm mixing colors and I get a little blob of green on there, I always wipe it off afterwards, because I don't want to go back in later on and then find out, oh my gosh, I got, you know, metallic mint on there, ew, or something like that. So that's what I'm going to do. Just going to wipe that off. And just, again, I'm going to use a dry finger here and just really rub it in. Get the colors nice and blended. On this one, I'm not going to use the gel medium, although I could. If I really wanted it to be sealed, I would probably use glaze on this one, just for a little bit extra shine. But what's nice about doing the panel first and then doing the gelatos is then you can always see how much of what you need left. So do I need more? Yep. So let me bring this down some more. So anyway, yep. So that's that. Okay. Now these tags that I bought are just, they're just mailing tags. but the size of them is kind of small. They're Avery shipping tags, and they're 2 3/4 by 1 3/8 inches. And each tag I cut down so that they're 2 inches long when I'm finished. So you're actually cutting off 3/4 inches on the tags. So if you like those kind of tags, you can get them. I believe, most big box office supply stores. So they start off at this size. Can you see that? And then I make them so that they're that size when they're done. So that's what you get. So when I'm creating the little tags, just so you know what I do to them, I actually they start off as manila, okay, and then I gesso them because I want to add different colors and things like that to them. So I use 2 watercolor pencils. One is a number 162 and the other one is 251, and I just go around it just like that. All right, and then I add the water. Now this isn't a necessary step either, it's purely decorative. And you try not to flip your tag over, but hey, it could create a really unique look, you never know. And for time's sake, you heat set it, but somehow, I lost my heat gun. How does somebody lose a heat gun, really? Come on. It was just here. Okay, well, I'm going to use the Master Blaster here. I bet y'all can hear that one, right? I can't believe where did my heat gun go? Keep rolling over things, and now I can't. Oh, it's way over there. Oh my gosh. Why did I do that? Okay, so that's that. And then using another. Oh, that was too big. Where's my little one? Oh, here we go. Let's see, water. Using some water. Around the edges with some chalkboard paint. And that's all there is to that. Clean off my brush. Oh, the lid never wants to shut. So now I can get my other one in here. So if you guys have like a lot of different kinds of sticky numbers or anything else like that, this would be a good way to use some of those up. So, just think about making sure that they're fit on for size when you're making your tags or making your calendar. So that this is kind of how, I don't know if my light is, we try and, I don't know, can you, there we go. So can you see that a little bit? So that's kind of how those turn out. Can you see that? Yeah, that's the glass bead glitter gel. So that's kind of how those turn out. And then you would just stick whatever number you have. I mean, I've got tons and tons and tons of different size numbers and things like that, little letter stickers and things like that. I just can't find the ones for some reason that I just used on this. So all you would do is these would get punched. You would just use whatever brads you have, and it would just get stuck through here, and you would just put your little number on there. So, and then this I use, you know, double-sided tape, and you want to make sure that you use it all the way through to make sure that it has enough what am I trying to say? Support. You want to make sure it has enough support. So this would go then on here, but before you put it on here and before you attach all of them, and of course you want to make sure you really call attention to number 25. So before you do that, of course you want to make sure that you do your snow stencil, and you know, just you're using your I can't talk, your whip spackle again, and you do all your snowflakes. So let me get that out of the way. You do all your snowflakes up here, and then again add your glass bead glitter gel. Now I have a couple of different size brads, and that's what I used on the advent calendar that I did. But you know, just do different snowflakes or whatever you want to do. You could even just put advent at the top in letters and things like that. You want me to do a snowflake? Okay. Who asked me to do a snowflake? Somebody asked me to do a snowflake. You want me to do this snowflake? Oh, this stencil is called, get it out. This is Crafter's Workshop, and it is called Mini Flurries. Here, I'll hold it up. Can you see? Isn't it pretty? Yeah. So I'll do this big snowflake over here for you. Make sure my, of course, you guys. Anything for you. And don't worry if you get stuff off to the sides and things like that. I mean, this is, you know, doesn't have to be a big deal. And any of this stuff you can always just wipe right off. And then, you know, pick another one. You know, move the stencil around. That's what I did, and just lay down another one. Just like that. And then, see, I still have some on there, so I can do a small one down here. Just like that. Ta-da! So, and again, you're going to put this. So even if it covers up part of your snowflakes, don't forget, it's going to be like that. And then you can add your trim or whatever else you have just around the bottom. Or, again, don't forget, you've got your glass bead glitter gel, right? Right? And you can add all this stuff to right around the edges, or you know, to cover up this kind of stuff. I mean, this just looks like snow. This is just how amazing, right? And I think that I got, or I gave Nalco some links to all kinds of fun family activities that, you know, people can participate in. And these are the kinds of things, because these tags are so small, but what's cool is that all the kids have to do is like take one of the tags off of the advent calendar and say hand it to you or something like that, and they can then reach into like a bowl or something like that, with the exception of day 25, which would be, you know, unpack or open presents or something like that. But they can just take the tag off, hand it to you, and then go into a bowl, and then they could, you know, pick out an activity, you know, or something like that. They could, you know, make snow cones, or you know, go for a walk in the park, or, you know, go to a movie or something like that. It could be a lot of fun. I think this is a really cool way of doing things. And, you know, this is how, I mean, of course, that is just a step of doing this, but how fun is that, right? And they all come off really easy. You just, you know, pull it off, and there you go, day 5. Oops. And sometimes they fall off on their own. You just really want to make sure that you pay really close attention to the brad size. When I was making this, I didn't realize that some of mine were actually almost a little too large, so I had to make slits in the tops of the tags. So something to make sure you know how to do. Or there's different ways of doing things. There's also magnets and things like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop record. Okay, you guys, did you have fun? Did you learn a lot? The size of the canvas is 9 by 12. I'm going to finish chatting with you guys off the recording, okay? And I'll answer all your questions. Sound good?